Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, wishing you happy National Pizza Day. I'm sorry. Vorkunov just sent out a tweet that popped up on my screen. I didn't know today was National Pizza Day until that just popped up. Did you, Jeremy Cohen?
I did not.
You did not.
I love pizza, so sounds pretty great.
I love pizza too. I haven't had it since we started doing this stupid diet 18 days ago, whatever it is. It's too many days. So shout out to everybody who could eat pizza today. And if you can, you should do it. Anyway, how you feeling, Jeremy?
Feeling anxious, but good. You know, like everyone, kind of want to get the show on the road, but the deadline's not till tomorrow, so we got some time. We have time.
So as I'm pulling up our YouTube channel so I could see any comments or questions or anything that we have, we're obviously taking questions, taking any thoughts, concerns, queries, anything else that anybody has on their minds. That's going to be the gist of tonight. I want to open though with a question to you, Jeremy, so we can preemptively get ahead of this thing. This thing meaning utter disaster. If they do nothing in the next 21 hours, do you think there will be a coherent argument for saying the front office has had an okay NBA year up until this point? So starting with, I guess, the beginning of free agency. You know, am I asking that clearly enough?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think it would ride and die on the development of RJ Barrett, picking Quentin Grimes, and maybe Mitchell Robinson rounding back into form. Other than that, it's very hard to basically be comfortable saying that they did a great job this year, even a good job. To be honest, I mean, say it again, if they don't deal at least one of Kemba Walker, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, then they have failed. Because if they didn't bring Cam Reddish into the fold, I think you could say, well, you know, they stood pat. It makes sense. There's much more of an urgency to get that done. If they don't do that, they failed at it. They haven't accomplished what they need to. But in terms of the year, especially as the team keeps sliding, I mean, they're 2-10 in their last 12. It's hard to say this was okay. Things are going fine. Long term, they're fine. Short term, yeah, that would be akin to a death sentence in terms of like what they're prioritizing.
I would agree with that. I mean, because I was trying to think about it already today, and we already have some questions, so we won't take this for too long. Especially since I do think they're going to do something. I think they're going to be able to make a move. I don't know. You could literally tell me any of 15 trade partners, and I would believe it. But because I was thinking about it today, it's better to make no deal than make a bad deal. But while that may be an excuse for inaction over this trade deadline, it would be it's either an indictment on what you do or don't do with the trade deadline, or it's an indictment on what you did during the summer. I don't think that there's any in between. You know, because at this point it seems pretty clear that they want to get this money off the books, some of this money off the books. And if you can't get 3 players off the books or any one of 3 players off the books that you signed just this summer, you know, it's not a great look. I don't really know how else to say it. It's actually
point blank a bad look.
It's a bad look. And look, free agency is only one part of your job as a president or as a front office. You mentioned development, you know, but winning is another thing. I haven't done much of that this year. And you know, I'm sure there are other things we could talk about, but okay, you want to get into? We have some stuff already in our super chat. The first of which comes from Mello from Toronto, who asks, John, Jeremy, Andrew, my guys, hope y'all are well. Boys, I'm praying and hoping we get some Knicks news during the stream and tomorrow. Any news that you guys have heard? I will just start by saying it's a little quiet on the Western Front right now, which I don't think we're going to get anything tonight. Do you expect anything from any trades from anybody tonight?
It feels like the calm before the storm.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. And listen, I mean, there were some minor moves that were made today, if you want to call them that, but I don't think I think at this point, you're probably going to see it get closer to the deadline, and then they will hopefully make their transactions done.
I mean, we should say that there were some nuggets from other reporters today. I mean, the amount of noise coming out specifically about Evan Fournier is interesting to me. I guess Toronto, did Beasley have that, or was that?
No, that was
Michael Grange, right?
Yes.
Who covers the Raptors, basically said, the Raptors thought about Fournier and were like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks, for in a possible Goran Dragic trade, which, like, I don't blame them. Fournier is, I don't know, if you would consider a net neutral contract at like the 50th percentile, is Fournier in like the 45th percentile? Is he at the 40th percentile? Right? Like today, maybe that changes the further, as you've said, changes the further you get into the contract. But
yep, that's exactly it. It's the sort of thing where if people are saying like, oh, you can't move Evan Fournier, that's kind of the structure of the deal. The Knicks weren't supposed to use their out clause on Evan Fournier yet. And Quentin Grimes playing well and Evan Fournier playing not as well, but playing, again, he's fine. It doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel terrible. It's just very much in the range of fine. And that's palatable. It
feels terrible sometimes.
Right. But then, you get to the summer and it's like, okay, well, it's 2 years left. And then it's that team option if you want that to be the case. As we get closer and closer, it works out just fine. So if you're upset about Evan Fournier, not you, of course, John, but if you're out there and you're upset about it, like that, again, that's something for later. You don't want to exercise your out clause unless unless an opportunity that's too good to pass up occurs.
Yeah. I wonder what the discussions were like with Toronto. Was it just like, hey, do you want Fournier? We'll take Goran Dragic. And I'm not surprised they said no to that. Jaden Evans, just supporting KFS and all the content this week. Appreciate it, Jaden. Yeah, it's been a busy week. I'm going to have a massive newsletter tomorrow in which I go through all 29 NBA teams and try to figure out if any of them are a trade partner for the Knicks. I don't know if you want a little encouragement. I was just saying to the guys that, like, I think about 2/3 of the league, you could at least make an argument that there's a deal there that makes sense, potentially for the Knicks. But at the same time, I don't know that there's one deal out there. Cause we should say, the Ingles deal, right? Was that the most obvious trade on the board?
If the Knicks want to go under the cap, I think it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Right. And that's no longer, well, it's not off the board because technically Joe Ingles could be traded again. If Portland wants to trade him, but based on everything Portland seems to be doing, which is interesting, I guess we'll say, it seems like they're trying to get under the cap, not take on any money. So yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Sean Ford, what's going on, Sean? Thanks for chiming in. The front office is trying hard to trade Fournier, Burks, Kemba, Noel, 4 of the 5 guys they signed in free agency. Yep. It means the front office was very bad. We were told that those were team-friendly deals, easy to trade. They're not looking that way. If you want to go first, I have a thought, but I'll let you go.
I mean, it's the same thing. First of all, the goal of all of this was that you would be trading them this summer, right? But to me, here's the thing, right? It's the Knicks. I said with Kemba Walker that it was a low risk, high reward move. And it's turning out that it's, coming back right into the Knicks front office's face. It's not working out. I think the fact that Derrick Rose is also injured plays a huge part. And here's the thing. When you don't have a point guard, you have to adjust everything, right? It's almost kinetic. So Alec Burks is now your starting point guard, but Alec Burks isn't a starting point guard, which then throws everything out of whack. And Julius Randle doesn't play well, which also throws things out of whack. And you have RJ Barrett, who starting in January has been phenomenal, but prior to that was just not playing up to his standards, whether it was being sick, whether it was just not doing a good job, whatever it is. And the problem is that these players' values live and die as well by how the team is performing. If this Knicks team had a similar record last year, they kind of did, and then obviously it's grown far worse. Yes. You're not seeing Reggie Bullock getting $10 million on the open market. You're seeing him sign for less. winning is how you raise your value. And when all of these issues arise and create a bad product, then everyone's value looks far worse in comparison. So that's the thing. It's if this team is able to have an efficient point guard who can lead the team, someone who's established, that helps alleviate a lot of your issues. And then from there, it's not the answer, but it is an answer to
I was just going to say,
back on track. And when you get back on track, with Kemba. That's
I was about to say Kemba Walker. It would have been nice if Kemba Walker was that point guard.
Exactly.
I'll just say this. I think the signings were made not purely to be traded. I think they were made to for a couple of reasons. One, to maintain continuity, and also it's like bird in the hand, two in the bush. Like they kind of knew what they had in these guys, and they thought that they could kind of run it back, make a few additions, and then those additions would raise the ceiling of the team. Did they know when they signed Nerlens Noel that he wasn't an $8 or $9 million a year player? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. But they're like, you know what? He's serviceable. Same thing with Burks. Fournier, again, kind of, I think they knew they were overpaying there. But to your point, I didn't think they could have possibly envisioned that it would have gone this badly. And let's just call a spade a spade. Noel's been hurt. It's like, it's tough to trade a contract. If he had been healthy the whole year, do I think he'd be this untradeable? No, not quite. No. And as far as Burks, they could trade. So I actually don't even want to put him in this category. And then Kemba, it's like, again, we've kind of talked about it off and on all year. It's like this gift that dropped out of the sky that ended up being a Trojan horse that they couldn't say no to. So yeah, it's not a great look. They are not good deals. Or the deals have soured, I guess. I don't think it is the end of the world if they cannot trade them before tomorrow at 3. I saw there was a pin question. I apologize, I didn't see who it was from, but somebody asked if we thought that there was going to be a Harden for Simmons deal before the deadline. I say yes. What say you, Jeremy?
100%. There's
100%.
There's way too much smoke. The fact that he's sitting out again,
100%.
Like, no, I'm sorry. I think that this is absolutely happening.
I'm also in the camp of 100%. And I took it off of being pinned in the chat because Lunis and Marat later on in the super chat asked the same question, but I'll give credit to Jordan Bubb who asked that question in the regular chat. And then Lunis, his question is: prefer Harden on Sixers or Nets? And do you think it happened? So we answered part 2, but who do you prefer him on?
Who do I prefer him on? Oh man, that's a great question.
I prefer him on the Nets, honestly.
Do you really?
I do, in the sense that, like, if Kyrie's not going to play, if Kevin Durant, assuming Kevin Durant's healthy, then he's an incredible player. I feel like you figure out a way to do it in the postseason when they're all healthy. They just haven't been able to be that, or if it's not health, it's COVID related. And I think that they could still be the favorites when they're all on the floor together. Problem is that they're not going to be. And
were you answering that as like what's better for basketball, like for which team benefits more, or were you answering like who do I want to see?
I was thinking about like what's better for the Knicks.
For the Knicks, I would say make the deal.
Yeah, because I want that big 3 broken up, and the return isn't Jared Allen
for the shot in front
Karis LeVert, and 8 first-round picks. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah. I don't think I have a strong feeling as far as like what's better for the Knicks, because I don't think the Knicks are not winning anything next year. And I mean, if they make a big trade, it'll maybe set them up to do something in the 2023-24 season, by which point like so much could fucking change. I mean, yeah, sure. Break up the big 3. Why not? Okay. So this is from Juanon. I love that name. It's just, I don't know what to say.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
To love that name.
I don't know.
Sure.
Jeremy, how do you feel about Juanon?
Follow the matzah crumbs,
There you go.
Robert Randolph's sources said a major deal is coming, so I officially expect nothing. Robert Randolph, God bless that man. God bless him. Maybe the Hornets want Noel for cheap. Suns for Burks. I think this. So the the easier one to answer is Suns for Burks. They have Dario Saric's expiring contract just sitting there. I don't believe Dario Saric is expected to come back anytime soon / at all this season. I honestly don't know what the medical prognosis on him is at this time. They could sure use a guy like Alec Burks. Is that their best use of that expiring contract? I don't know. I don't know what else is out there. I mean, a lot of these sorts of players have been getting shuffled around already, but like, I don't know how many other serviceable, like playable wingmen that can kind of run an offense and could definitely hit a three and put the ball on the floor. Like, how many of those guys are left out there that teams are looking to get rid of or move on from? I don't know. I don't think there's that many.
Not a ton. No. And then for Noel going to Charlotte, potentially, I mean, the thing about, I saw one trade idea, which was PJ Washington for Rashawn Holmes. I think that works out really nicely for both teams, because if you're the Hornets,
it's nice. Yeah.
You don't like,
yeah.
Holmes is a legitimately good center. And if you don't want PJ Washington anymore because of the fact that he's a bit of a tweener at the 4-5, and you don't want him at the 4, but he's also maybe
good for them though.
He has, but that's why, Holmes would be a good option. I just don't really know by trading Noel what you'd be getting back other than matching salary. And they'd probably be better off with Plumlee. So,
yeah, I mean, Plumlee's let's just say it, Plumlee's a little underrated. He's not going to excite anybody ever, but he's he's very solid and he fits in well with what they do. I mean, look, they have Ish Smith and they have a couple of small contracts that they could add to Ish, and then they could take on whoever they want. They could take on Kemba, they could take on Burks, they could take on Noel. I don't know. I mean, if Kemba wants to go home, I'd pack his bags. Let's just say that. There's a comment in the chat that I'm not going to read, but Andrew, it's right under the super chat that we just read, and I think you should read it and just get a chuckle for yourself. That's all. Anyway,
John, this is an audio medium for a lot of people, so unfortunately we have to.
So I have to read that?
I'll read it for you. Don't worry.
Sure.
So I'm not going to say who it is because I'm just not gonna, but it's that the Knicks head coach had sex with my wife in 1988, the year I was born. So Tibbs has been around.
Are you Tibbs?
Maybe,
Tibbs your dad?
Am I? Maybe. I'm Pastor Thibodeau's OB-Hive, apparently.
Jesus Christ. Frank Miranda, let's move on. John, Jeremy, Andrew, what's up? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I love that he starts off every comment
every time. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. I was at the game last night, a couple rows behind the Knicks bench, and the body language was not good. I'm shocked to hear that. Shocked that there are Nazis in this bar. There was a clear disconnect, and Cam looks miserable. I did find it interesting today that Ian Begley reported that Cam's name has, I guess, come up in trade discussions in recent days, hours, weeks, I don't know, whatever. Since at some point since they got him, his name has come up again in more trade discussions. If potentially for no other reason that like he's kind of hard to trade because the only salaries that because you can't combine him with another player in a trade. And so the only salaries that are around that amount of money were for guys who are either really not very good or other rookie contract guys. And it's like, are you trading him for like a different disappointing rookie contract guy? Because are the Knicks trying to flip him and another asset for like a slightly less disappointing rookie contract guy? Or like, what are we looking at? Are we looking at like Chicago for Kobe White or something? Like, I don't know. Like, what's the deal, where they're sending Cam? Do you have any thoughts on that, Jeremy?
Yeah, it'd have to be for a player who's, making like $3 to $9 or so million. And I don't know who that would necessarily be that's of significant value. Because again, like if you're trading a first alongside Cam Reddish, then you're effectively trading 2 first-round picks for whatever you would be getting back. And I don't know who or what is worth that haul or whatever it might be. So I can understand the creativity of thinking about it. I think if there's a time to deal Cam Reddish, it's more likely the offseason. But again, that's the other beauty of playing him. Like his value already has to, like, I don't think his value can get a ton worse than he's out of the lineup completely. Maybe it can in the sense that he just plays terribly, takes awful shots, whatever it is. But I don't think we're at that point. Just get him on the court, see what he's got. At worst, he's salary filler. Right now, he's not salary filler. He's just his own guy because he can't be aggregated. So I understand why they're exploring. I would just hang on to him for now.
I wouldn't pay too much attention to him looking miserable because, quite frankly, I don't blame him for looking miserable. He's not playing, and I think he needs to play. And then, but the interesting thing that I find with Cam is to make him look better, because I don't think you're going to make him look better this year in like a lesser role, like him playing 15, 20 minutes off the bench as like a 3-and-D wing. I don't think he's going to look too good doing that. What I think could be interesting is if they just completely took the governor off and was like, here, you want to be a quasi point forward for 30 minutes a night? Have at it, and like maybe he flashes some like, oh, wow, what could this guy actually be if really a team invested in like making him this? Are they going to do that? Are they going to let him be that guy? I don't know. Someone in the chat is saying Saric has another year on his deal. No, I don't believe.
Yeah, he does.
He does?
He's not an expiring contract.
Who was I thinking of? Who am I thinking? Oh, my God. I'm confusing him with Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith is the guy who's expiring.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be more about like, what are you getting in addition to Saric for Burks? And is it worth it? But to me, that's no wonder why that's the fake trade that I figured, because it would be Saric and Jalen Smith for Burks and someone else, and they would have to put in Peyton to make the money work. So you're saving some money if you're in New York there. Yeah. You want Elfrid Payton back on the Knicks?
Nope.
You sure?
Yep.
Good. Okay. Robert McGinley, does the front office have too many different opinions internally, in our opinion? Also, to your point before, I think if we don't move anyone, it's an indictment on the summer. Does the front office have too many different opinions? That's really interesting because we've heard from different reporting. I think your own Wiseman has kind of cornered the market on the inside look at this front office about how Leon Rose likes to, get everybody's voice. And Ian Beasley has reported a few times that Tibbs does have significant weight in terms of decision making. So, go through the guys. There's Leon Rose. Okay. Tibbs has personnel decision making power to a certain extent. Sure. Wes clearly has an influence. Okay. We know Brock Aller has an influence in terms of what they're thinking. Okay, that's 4 guys. And we haven't even mentioned the general manager yet. So I think Leon Rose has tried to design this thing like we're going to get everybody's opinion and we're going to make the best consensus call. I don't know. Maybe that's not the best way to go about running an NBA team. But I honestly, I'm at a little bit of a loss because I just don't know the answer.
I think it is. You want enough opinions in the room. At the end of the day, though, you have to make the right one. And it's funny, though, that you mentioned Yaron Weitzman, because I was actually reading that article today randomly and trying to get an understanding of it and just how they're kind of all clashing. But I think that the ability to have different opinions creates different conversations. And when you're having different conversations, you can think more critically about things. Like if we had one person's ideas in mind and did nothing else, I think that'd actually be a bit of a problem. So I'm fine with it. I'm totally happy with it, as long as at the end of the day, the person in charge makes the right decision. And that's what matters.
I'm fine with it too. Although the one with the final decision here is Leon Rose, and he has never done the job before, which is, and he's relying on other people who have done the job before to a certain extent. Although to varying degrees. So I don't know. I mean, look, you live and you learn. So maybe whatever happens, they'll get better at it moving forward. Okay, Matt from Down Under. Love you boys. On a recent pod, John, you said that the over/under on the Knicks being moved was 1.5. Do you still think that's the case? I do. I mean, I still think that's the right over/under. I wouldn't put the over/under. I think if you put the over/under at 0.5, it's an easy over because I think they're going to make a trade. They're going to figure out how to move someone, even if it's just Burks. And I think 2.5 is too many. I think 1.5 is the right number. As if you're asking me, like, am I taking the over or taking the under? I'd honestly flip a coin.
I still think it's 2, but if you said 2.5, I would still be like, I don't really see them trading 3 players necessarily. So I think 1.5 is a fair amount. Because it could just be 1. It's an easy flip.
It is. I hope it's more. I hope it's more than 3. Alan G, what's going on, Alan? If you could have your pick of any lead guard, regardless of contract trade mechanics, who would it be? SGA and DeJounte Murray are my picks. Thoughts? I mean, is Steph Curry available to be?
That's what I was thinking. Even with the slump, I'm taking Steph Curry.
Actually, you know what? That's an interesting question. Who's the best? Who is the best asset as far as a lead guard in the NBA? Because I think there is actually an argument for Morant at this point because he's so much younger than Curry. There's an argument. I would take Morant over SGA or DeJounte myself, but that's just me.
It's probably fair.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who else. I mean, are we considering Luka Doncic a lead guard?
No, I'm not.
Case.
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think of him that way.
So in that case, I'd probably go more towards the SGA route for sure. But I think Ja has a case, especially if he's shooting.
We know Andrew would take Colin Sexton.
Every time.
Every time, twice on Sunday.
Yep.
Okay. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? It's good to see you. Jessica always puts a smile on my face. Looking more and more like the season, we might just get a trade dead.
As opposed to a trade deadline.
Oh, trade deadline.
Or a trade deal.
It's been a long day. Thank you three for everything you do. KFS is the only bright spot during the dark parts of the season. It's very kind. I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you. Me in particular. Fingers crossed on a trade. I mean, look, here's what I'll say. I haven't said this out loud yet, but I will utter this. I think the fact that the Knicks tried to win this year and failed somewhat spectacularly is a good harbinger for the karma of the ping pong balls on lottery night. Because listen, Toronto, great organization, right? They go out there and they did a little tankery last year, I guess, but like they always go out there and they try to win and good things happen. Who knows? Maybe this is the year the lottery luck turns around because, the Knicks actually tried to do the right thing. I don't know.
Can only hope.
We can only hope. I have some faith. I have some faith that it's going to be a good lottery night. What?
No, it's funny because we were talking about the idea of a watch party.
Yes.
And you were like, no way. So it's nice to see there's at least a little bit more optimism in that sense.
I'm a little optimistic.
Good.
Okay. We have a trade proposal from 24 seconds. Jeremy Lamb and 2 seconds for Alec Burks. Now, Jeremy Lamb is an expiring contract, and he could be bought out. Like, I don't even think you need to buy him out. Sure. Yes, you could do that. Do you think, but why would Indiana do that? I guess
Jeremy
Indiana's
Lamb?
tank. Yeah. Why would
He's
not
Indiana on Indiana anymore? He's on Sacramento.
Oh my God. Again, he just got traded. And Sacramento is trying to
win.
Two
Jeremy Lambs are on Sacramento, according to Woj. So pick your choice.
Yeah, no, that actually makes that makes sense. I don't know. Is Sacramento trying to win this year?
I would imagine they just traded Tyrese Halliburton for Domantas Sabonis. One's 25, the other's 21.
They did do that. And Portland is trading away everybody, but like, I don't know. I would bet on New Orleans. I mean, look, that maybe they're really going for it and they would do something like that. I mean, it's 2 seconds, so that's not a bad one. I actually like that. No. I'm gonna put that in the old newsletter tomorrow. I like that idea.
I would probably do it for what it's worth, but I'm also curious if they plan to move Bagley instead, because I mean, maybe it's like Bagley goes to Toronto because they need a big, and the Knicks get Dragic's contract, and then they send out Burks to Sacramento, and then one of Noel and Walker to Toronto. So I mean, something along those lines. Because the one thing I'll say about Toronto is that they only have they're supposed to be under the cap by just a little next year, so it actually would behoove them to turn Dragic into a long-term salary, aka continuous soup, because that would better help them moving forward. It would get them above the salary cap so they could use the mid-level exception. And then,
hold on. Just over a half an hour, first continuous soup reference.
Hey, add that to the drinking game. at this point.
Just drink
shout out.
soup.
Just drink soup. Yeah.
I mean, there's good drinking soups out there. Shout out to all the
Gaspacho.
over 700 people we have watching. You guys are awesome. Next comment from Ryan Menzies. Hey, haven't been to a live stream in a while. Hope you three are well. We are pretty well. As good as can be expected
Hanging in
given
there.
this. Yeah, hanging in there. Hanging in there. The Zach Lowline drink.
I've not a drink. Damn. Oh, well.
We
Drink
should
twice
have-
for you.
We
Thank you,
should have
Jeremy.
known when they lost the KFS game to Orlando that this would follow, but at least we met John Starks. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
That was a disconcerting evening. That was not fun. I mean, you don't even have to go. I said it the other night when I think I was going on a little bit of a rant, but like game one against Boston, when you almost blew that friggin' game. And then, four nights later or whatever it was, you go out and you lose to Orlando at home. It's like, yeah.
I'll take it one step further. In
What?
hindsight, thinking about it, I was at I think it was the third preseason game, and it was against the Pistons, and they had to fight their way back, and they were playing a lot.
Yeah.
They were playing a lot of their starters and rotation pieces, and they barely won. And then the next game against Washington, really competitive, and they had all of their starters, and Washington wasn't supposed to be a good team.
That's right.
And then you have the Boston game, and that also was
Yeah.
like it started even before the season. I just think at the time it was like, oh, look at that. They're working out kinks. They're getting it done early. And it was more a show of what's going on.
I think it was very telling when they were 5-1 and like nobody felt good, really. Right.
I have a friend who is like sort of a Knicks fan, but not really. And they were 5-1. And he texted me, he's like, the Knicks are good. And I said to him, I was like, it doesn't really feel that way. He was like, you are what your record says. I was like, yeah, but
stay tuned.
no.
Forgotten NYC says, barring a miracle trade tomorrow, what's the long-term plan for Julius? In my opinion, I think he's past the point of no return with the clash with the media and the fans. I mean, look, if LeBron James could come back, I mean, look, he's LeBron James. So whatever, but like, I don't know. If you play well, all is forgiven. And the media part, I don't think that matters at all. I think
Literally look at the last year one of Julius.
Yeah,
we were ready
sure.
to trade him for a second round pick and a Nick Batum expiring or a buyout.
God.
And then he won. Yep. Then he was second team All NBA. If he plays, like you said, if he plays well, all's forgiven.
Shows effort. That's it.
Yeah.
Just look at the last 5 out of 6 games that we were talking about last night.
I think we're at officially 6 games. Ben even said it was 6 full games.
I think so too. Yeah.
I don't think Ben thought that one through.
No,
keep spreading it. Go, make it better over a longer period of time. And then you start saying like, oh, well, that was a really rough stretch of the season, but he's starting to look more like that All NBA. I'm not saying he will be an All NBA, but closer to it. He's productive. And then you're talking about a player who's good enough where you're not selling at his lowest value. You could either trade him or you could say, hey, this is someone who can be of value to us. Let's just keep him.
I also thought it was interesting. Ian Beasley had a note at the bottom of one of his pieces that he came out with today. Ian's awesome, by the way. Shout out to Ian Beasley, where he said, it's worth noting that some members of the organization have expressed confidence that the club can be effective if Randle continues to run the floor and play with energy. What a fucking concept. If our best player does basic basketball shit, we could be effective. That's great. Per people in touch with the team. I mean, I sure as hell hope that's what they're saying. I sure as hell hope that anybody who calls about Randle would be like, why would we sell him for 65 cents on the dollar? He's going through a little bit. He's going to be fine. You see what he's doing now that he's starting to get past it. He's going to be fine. I mean, that's exactly what they should be saying.
I have a regular chat question.
What's up?
So rank the following 3, and I'm not my words, theirs. Dysfunctional franchise. Rank the following 3: Knicks, Kings, and Thunder.
Oh, I think I'm in the minority probably. I think the Thunder are like one of the most well-run franchises in the league.
I would put them first in this case because they clearly have
of the 3,
long-term plan. And then I would go Knicks, and then I would go Kings. Yeah. I mean, the Kings are basically getting the Kristaps Porzingis treatment that the Knicks got.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, they did get Domantas Sabonis, which will be a better, most likely option than Dennis Smith Jr., the 2 first-round picks. And
I was about to
so
say.
they certainly turned out much better than that. But then the question, of course, is, well, like, what are you going to do with it? Because you still trade, like, KP was not healthy and he was causing all sorts of problems. And it seemed like there was tension there, skip the exit interviews, all of that. Tyrese Halliburton orchestrated himself to fall into the draft to land in Sacramento, wanted to be there, said, I want to change this culture. And then the Kings said, we don't really want you to. Yeah. We're going to ship you out. That to me is far more ridiculous. So I'm going to go Thunder, Knicks, Kings.
I don't consider the Knicks a dysfunctional organization anymore.
Me neither.
I'll be honest. No. I really don't. Look, maybe they get there again. I don't think they're dysfunctional right now. I think they're going through it right now. I think this is testing their functionality. Will they come out the other side in one piece? We'll see. But I don't think they're dysfunctional right now. This is my favorite question from TKO Steve. So what do you guys think about Tibbs? I'll play the
You want me to just put an episode link in the link in the chat?
There you go.
Yeah. That instead.
From Jaden Darcy. Good morning, everyone. JD from Australia. What's going on? Where Sydney is not the capital. I hope it's more than 10 players traded. Steve Popper said yesterday they tried to trade everyone and no takers so far. Yeah, and I would imagine that's partially because they're like everybody, they're asking prices higher than they know it realistically is. I think just because they haven't traded in anyone yet doesn't mean they won't. But the notion that like everybody's on, like, it's funny. We're talking about like 1, 2 players are going to be traded, maybe 3. Would it shock you? How much would it shock you if, like, I don't say half the roster, but like if they really change some things around?
At this point, it wouldn't. Like, it
wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't, because of the fact, like, we saw Cam Reddish be acquired out of left field. Even if there was that report a couple weeks earlier that was like the Knicks are interested, I didn't think it was to the extent of they were going to acquire him. Like, the Knicks could make a surprise move, and I wouldn't really be surprised. I think the only thing that would not the only thing. Let me think about this. RJ being dealt would shock me.
That's not happening.
I think Randle being dealt would highly surprise me. But at this point, I think everything else is essentially on the table. But they're not going to make a move that will seriously hurt them, right? Like, the goal, of course, will be get to as neutral as possible. If, like, from a worst case scenario, obviously, best case scenario is you get multiple superstars on your roster and you just go from there. That will not be happening. So with that being said, it's just kind of like, don't do anything stupid. If you feel like you're accepting of this past offseason not going your way, just say it and then do it. And, things that seem good then may not have aged as well now. It happens. But don't have to, like, give people away and pay to get rid of things.
Yeah.
Do it on your own time.
I
do. Just sorry, one thing to add, because I don't want to be conflicting. Again, the Knicks do have to make some moves, right?
Yes.
Like, they have to clear at least one of these players. If we're talking about a second, 2 seconds, like, for the right circumstance, 100%. You can't stand pat. There's something to be said of, no move versus a bad move, but, like, you can bench Kemba hypothetically for the entire rest of the season. If you traded Alec Burks, then that's at least solving your problem. There's a middle ground here. They just have to get to at least there.
Yeah. Yes. I was trying to think how I want to say this. I would not be shocked if they acquired another player in the Cam Reddish mold, which is to say a young player or a young-ish player that is, like, not disappointing, but, like, and I actually have a guy in mind.
I do.
I'll say it before we get off here.
You want to say now? While we're on it,
say it now.
Again, this person has not even come up in rumors at all. I have an eye on Mo Bamba.
Interesting.
Entering restricted free agency from New York City, stretch 5, rim protector. They have Wendell Carter Jr. on a contract extension. They have Jonathan Isaac coming back, so it's not like you keep running out this. It's not like you keep starting both of them at least. Knicks theoretically have as much need for a stretch 5 as any team in basketball because of who plays power forward for them. And RJ Barrett also. Yeah, I don't. And by the way, the Magic have, some other pieces that theoretically, like, Gary Harris, big expiring salary. Now, I know Mo Bamba's cap hold is even bigger than, Harris's expiring number. So it's like, I don't know. There are different ways you could do a deal. I don't know. He's just a player that wouldn't shock me. If he was traded tomorrow, and if the team that he was traded to was the Knicks.
There's a guy that has been commenting in our post games for like a month, trying to get you to notice, like in all caps, what do you think about Mo Bamba, Macri? That is going to have his day made now that you.
I don't watch enough Magic basketball to have a real strong opinion about Mo Bamba, but I know the outline of Mo Bamba is a guy who had the longest freaking wingspan in the history of the combine. He definitely could block shots, and he could hit threes. So, like, again, that would open up some things for the Knicks on both ends. And I don't know. Is he in Orlando's plans? I have no idea. They extended Wendell Carter Jr. They did not extend Mo Bamba. So that's interesting.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but yeah. In terms of Mo Bamba, obviously that has an impact on Mitchell Robinson.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist here. I really don't, because again, I'd be more than happy to have Mitch stay here. You need a plan if you're going to get rid of him. But does it also not kind of feel a little? I'll just use the word. It's a very boring word. Interesting. Does it not feel interesting that the thing that leaked this week was the idea of that the Knicks want to keep Mitchell Robinson long term?
100,000%.
Isn't that the type 100%. Of thing that you would be like, oh, they really want him here?
Yeah.
Like we have to go. Like he's desirable. That whether it happens or not. But when you said Mo Bamba, we're not too far off in terms of where we're going. This isn't necessarily who I want, but the idea of how they could sell it and fitting a need, of course, would be Colin Sexton. The idea of, hey, we're getting someone in here who's around this team's core age-wise. When you've 7 guys under the age of 24, he certainly fits right in there. He's not going to be playing. So if you're thinking about lottery odds or whatever, that's not going to really have an impact. You can set his market. It depends on the cost. I was talking about this with Schwinn, where I would rather probably go after Sexton this offseason if Brunson didn't come to fruition. But I do think that there is something, of course, to be said where if you wanted to stay over the cap, you wanted to try to make a longer term upgrade, there is logic there. I totally see it.
And speaking of bluffing, I just wonder if they did pull off a trade for a center like a Bamba, and you called up Dallas and you were like, Mitch in your pick. There you go. You could have it.
Something.
You want to finagle around, and we'll give you Burks too, and you send us back. I don't know which salary they would want to send back, but like pick a salary. I don't know. Just things.
Something to consider.
Brian Valderrama asks, 76ers call. What do you give up for Ben? 76ers are calling the 718 area code. It's not that
they call us. Say,
you
what? Sure you have the right number.
That's the question, though. Is like, I guess we would have to ask Brian though. Are we trying to beat the Nets offer, or is this not in that world?
Didn't it? I can't even answer the question because we don't have anything that the Sixers are looking for. I mean, what am I giving up? Like that's the thing. It's like I would have to give up so much to get Simmons that it wouldn't be smart. I don't think this team is is at the place where they should be trading for a Ben Simmons. And I like Ben Simmons. I'm a big fan of his, but I don't. Yeah, so it's just not.
You're saying Kemba, Fournier, and Noel wouldn't get it done.
It might not.
Okay.
Max Cyril, thank you for the contribution. We appreciate it. And here's his comment. I'm with Macri on. Oh wait, where'd it go? Hold on.
Did you lose it?
No, I got it. I'm with Macri on the ping pong karma. We're rapidly approaching the 40th anniversary of the frozen envelope. Yes, we are. We can get number one. Who fits best on this roster? I have not done nearly the homework required to answer this question with any intelligence. From the little I've seen, the kid from Auburn, Jabari Smith, seems like he's a pretty good player. So he would probably be my pick. The nice thing about where this roster is at right now is you don't have to worry about the best fit on this roster because there is no roster. There's RJ Barrett and there's a bunch of guys.
You could tell me on any of the top 4 guys. Chet Holmgren, yeah. Like that is essentially the type of player the Knicks could use at the 5. Jabari, yeah, he's certainly an option. I mean, depending on what you want to do with Randle, Paolo Banchero, same thing. Jaden Ivey, hell yeah, you could work any of these guys into the.
I'd love me some Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
Rel Wilson, I'm in the chat to see KFS live reacts to any deal. I will say this: we're going live tomorrow at 2 p.m. I don't think there's going to be anything before that. If something does happen before that, like, we'll try to go live. I can't promise we will be able to, just because we, schedules and whatnot, but we'll definitely be live tomorrow too. And I have a feeling anything that's going to happen probably won't happen until then. LDS, Macri, you poo-pooed a Golden State trade for Wiseman involving Mitch, and then he had the game of his life. Any chance your mind has changed? LOL. No, unless here's the thing. I'd still be shocked if that's what Golden State sold. If that's what they're like, we're cashing in our Wiseman ship now, and the guy we're getting is a guy who's played a month, maybe a month and a half of really consistent basketball. He's 4 years into his career. He's about to get paid. And this is what we're getting for the number 2 pick in the draft, the guy we drafted over LaMelo Ball. I don't know. I have a tough time seeing it. Jeremy, you feel differently?
Yeah. To begin with, I'm not really a big James Wiseman fan.
I'm not either, but
so that's probably clouding my judgment. I really
so you're saying you wouldn't do it?
If I'm the Knicks, I would not.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I completely disagree.
Fine. But I'm not saying that as in like, oh my God, Mitch is this untouchable piece. It's just like, I am lower on the James Wiseman train. So
I'm shocked to hear that.
It's like, well, what has Wiseman really shown? Okay.
But he was the number 2 pick in the draft.
That's nice. I mean, like,
okay.
We could say that about almost like Emmanuel Mudiay was the 5th pick in the draft. Like, we could say this about all these different guys. Mario Hezonja was the 5th pick in a draft.
Wiseman, we haven't seen Wiseman, which is both a gift and a curse in terms of this evaluation.
I mean, again, like if the Warriors want to hold him up as this like untapped potential player that can help them, then that's fine. Let them keep him. But it's not going to happen, so it's all moot. But for the sake of the conversation, like, okay. I was really like, we saw 3 college games from him. We're basing a lot on high school. We've seen barely any of him at the NBA level.
I know.
Just not something I'm really interested in.
Okay. That's fair. Jeremy E. Large contingent of fans are done with Julius. He's hustling more, but the main difference is his shot is not falling. His shot selection is still bad. Yes, but his shot selection was bad last year. His shot selection has actually been better this year than last year. I think the shot selection can be a lot better, and that's dictated in part because of how he plays. And we know there's a way that he could play where his shot selection will be better. You supplement it with some of the hard stuff, and like, yes, you do need to make a certain amount of those, but like, yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Lunis is back for another one. I think the only people in the organization that are safe from the Knicks civil war happening on Twitter are RJ, Mitch, Grimes, and Johnny Bryant. It's been insane. Yeah, that's why I stay out of this stuff. Is Mitch safe from Knicks Twitter civil war? I don't know.
Yes,
he is. Okay.
I think for the most part he is. I don't know if he's as safe as the other people that Lunis named, but I think for now he is safe.
Okay. I mean, yesterday not playing actually helped him a lot with what Jokic did. Shout out to Fritz Marty Jr. for your contribution. Appreciate it. Matt Smith, what's going on, Matt? Do you think Donovan Mitchell is the most likely superstar the Knicks land in the next 18 to 24 months? 1 billion %. Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, go ahead.
Yes. And yes, I'll never fully rule out Towns.
Oh, Cat.
But with the way they're playing, the fact
I know.
Their ceiling is certainly higher. Their floor is a bit lower, but
it's why not both?
I'll put it this way: there's probably not. Sure, why not both?
It's great.
But I'll say this: if the Knicks do trade for Cat, I don't see there being an issue between him and Tom Thibodeau, as I don't think both of them would be in the Knicks organization at that point. So I feel like if one person's argument is like, well, Tibbs and Cat don't get along, there could be an easy solution from that.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, I was told by someone I trust recently that Thibodeau won't be here when the Knicks are ready to win a championship. So at that point, with that kind of roster,
it's true.
Then Johnny Bryant will have his hands full with Donovan Mitchell.
He sure will.
Johnny Bryant's going to be a great head coach.
One very minor thing that just in terms of Donovan Mitchell that I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but today the Heat and the Thunder made a trade.
Yep.
And the Heat basically got more ability to use a protected pick, which bummed me out because I think that they have the ammo, not as much ammo, but they have the ammo to go get a player like Donovan Mitchell down the line. I'm hoping that the unlocking of their pick is more like, we want to win now. Let's invest in it now. That would be great. But otherwise, it's like I saw it and I was not thrilled with
Miami,
how they're maneuvering.
I 1,000,000% believe Miami remains the greatest threat to all these guys, to Zion, to Mitchell, whoever else you want to say. But they can only get so many guys. And so the Knicks will get one of these guys. It may not be the one you want, but they're going to get one of these guys.
I have a regular trade question. I have a regular chat question.
Sure.
What trade, more than any like rumored reported trade, don't you want to see the Knicks make?
What trade don't I want to see the Knicks make?
Yes.
That has not.
Would you hate to see happen to the Knicks, or what trade would you hate to see happen to the Knicks?
I don't want them to give up like assets for Harrison Barnes or like Jeremy Grant or something. Like, yeah.
Am I still allowed to say Russell Westbrook?
That's Billboard one.
That's obvious.
ESPN is very much perpetuating content right now.
That's in like a different category of like things that I don't want to see.
Seventh ring of hell.
Yes, exactly. Like in terms of like normal trades, like I don't want him. I mean, unless you're telling me I'm getting Julius Randle, which that would be an interesting move for Sacramento, off the team, and I'm getting like a future first.
You talking about in the Russ trade that like?
No, I'm talking about Harrison Barnes, like my fake like Harrison Barnes and like a future unprotected first for Randle. Like that.
Here's the deal: if we're getting Westbrook, LeBron's got to come too. That's my take.
He could come and Bronny could come too, and I still don't want Russell Westbrook on my basketball team.
Oh wow.
Frank Miranda, what's up, fellas? It's your boy Frank from Patreon again. It's time to rip. I just love it. It's time to rip off the Band-Aid and let Tibbs go this offseason and promote Johnny Bryant. Tibbs is too disconnected. Tibbs is too disconnected from this generation of player. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I guess we'll find out this offseason. Alex, if they're not dealt, Alex asks, if they're not dealt, Kemba and Noel are 100% being shut down after the deadline, no matter what, right? Like right after the deadline?
I think right after the deadline is probably too obvious.
I don't think Noel would be shut down right after the deadline. I think of all of those guys, I think easily the number one guy who's like, we're shutting you down is Kemba.
Potentially. The thing that bugs me the most is the reality that the Knicks brought back Kemba because they had to do their COVID situation. And then he goes off and then he is excelling and they feel like they can't bench him again. And they don't bench him because they also want to prop up his trade value, whatever, like whatever that even is. And then they keep him because there aren't any takers and he continues to start. And it's like, okay, well, you're losing with him. You didn't trade him. Why do you keep going about this? And at that point, like, I don't think you can say there's front office intervention. I think it's pretty much all on Tibbs. I think Tibbs has a huge role into maybe even he doesn't let anyone have any say in how he determines his rotations and his lineups. And I think that would further prove the point. But that is a world I hope we don't even have to explore because it would mean that Kemba Walker is not on this team anymore.
I will second that. Fritz Marty Jr., should we tank the season if we're not able to get a trade that helps us? I don't even, again.
What does that mean?
What does tanking the season mean?
I feel like they're doing it right now. It's a stealth tank.
Look, people aren't going to like this, but like, I think if they start Deuce McBride, I love Deuce McBride. I think he's going to be a nice player. But like, if you start a rookie point guard, that's about as close to a tanking move as you can get. And I say that in full knowledge of how, like, well, Kemba has been really bad.
Why wouldn't people like that, John?
No, me saying that starting Deuce McBride would be a tanking move.
I think people care if like it's a tanking move or not. They just want to see him play. We're losing anyway. I think that's actually the preferred strategy. We've talked about this. There's a portion of this fan base that their favorite 2 games of the season were the 2 games Randle was out because Obi played 100 minutes.
Like, why is it that Deuce McBride can't get what we saw with Elfrid Payton in the end of last year? Basically,
look, why is it that Deuce McBride can't get what Emmanuel Mudiay got when they were losing every game?
If you're asking me what I want to see is the first game after tomorrow night. I want to see Deuce McBride come out and play 30 minutes. That is what I want to see.
I was more just saying I think more people agree with you in that I don't think that there's I don't think people want to hear that the kids will be bad and we will lose a lot. It's like, yeah, we're okay with losing if the kids play, which has been the frustration over the last month.
Yes. Okay. So we're up to Eddie F has a question for Jeremy. What is the business benefit to a team to take on Noel or Kemba's contract? Forget the on-court for a moment since neither plays reliably.
So like with Toronto, as I was saying with Dragic, like taking on both those contracts, for example, would get them above the salary cap and give them access to the mid-level exception. That's like $10 million. And then they could use those contracts as ways of flipping them as part of matching salary for another deal. It's creating money that you didn't really have. That is the biggest advantage. Or if you are a team like Orlando and you feel like no one's really going to sign with us, what are we going to do? You say, hey, we'll take on your garbage and a little bit of compensation, and then it works out. And then maybe we can rehab that, right? Like Gary Harris, he went from Denver to Orlando. Originally, Gary Harris was this really nice trade asset, and then he was just salary filler. Mm-hmm. And then he was bad. And then he rehabbed his value, and now they're trying to shop him again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what you try to do if you are looking for a Nerlens Noel type. If you maybe feel like, hey, we're a young team, we've got plenty of point guards. What do we do if we got Kemba Walker in here just to be a great mentor to what we're doing? That's the type of mindset. You could sell it in a lot of different ways. At the end of the day, it just matters what the price is.
Another guy that again, I mentioned Mo Bamba. Is Markelle Fultz's deal completely guaranteed for all 2? He's 2 more years, I know, after this one. I forget if both of the last 2 years are fully guaranteed. Andrew, if you want to look that up. I didn't get a chance to do that earlier today because I was intending on it. But I don't know. Nothing. Orlando's an interesting one. As is this next person who I thought about earlier today when I was writing tomorrow's newsletter. Sean Ford asks, in the young disappointing mold, wouldn't be shocked to see them try to get Malik Beasley. The Knicks wanted him in 2020. Yes, they did. And I was told at the time that they were pretty far down the road on Beasley. What do you think? What do you all think of Roses? As far as Roses, I'll start there. Very respected basketball mind up until he got the head gig in Minnesota. And then there were some reports from The Athletic that the way he conducted business rubbed, I guess, maybe some other front office people around the league the wrong way. And then there was the thing that he didn't get along with Gupta, right? Yeah. And Gupta. Yeah. And then the thing with the consensual relationship with his coworker that I guess was not looked well upon. Seems like a smart basketball guy. I know he took over for Tibbs, but New York Basketball had a tweet today showing that he hosted Tibbs when he was with Houston, so they get along. I don't know. Do you want to say anything on Roses, and we'll get to Beasley?
I don't know if one photo can necessarily convey the nature of the relationship. I'll put it
That's
that
fair.
way.
Okay. That's fair.
There are plenty of times where I've smiled with someone for a photo and I can't fucking stand their guts. So I feel like it's a lot to read into. I don't know if it's the best thing for Tibbs, but I also don't.
Might not be.
At the end of the day, he has a lot of the analytics is the reason why the Knicks brought him on board in terms of drafting. And we're looking at what Minnesota and how they're developing a little bit more. He played quite a bit of a role in that. And I think he was in charge when they got Finch as well. So
yeah,
he clearly knows what good coaching looks like.
By the way, Fultz only $2 million is guaranteed in his final season. So you can treat him essentially as a $16.5 million expiring contract. I don't know, just for a team that is perpetually looking for a point guard.
He did try to avoid New York, though. That is the one thing. Now, he wouldn't have a say in this, but if you go back to tanking to the top here on Weitzman's book,
yes, because he doesn't
not
like
want
big
to be
cities.
in a big city.
Yeah, so maybe that wouldn't be the best move. Malik Beasley. So Malik Beasley is signed. He's under contract. I think Minnesota is another interesting team to keep an eye on because they have two sizable expiring contracts in Patrick Beverley and Taurean Prince. And Beasley this year, like he's not starting. Like last year, he started a lot of games and put up a shit ton of shots for a bad team. All of his numbers are down. His scoring's down. His minutes are down. His efficiency is a little down. The one that let me make sure. Yeah, the one that I came up with was like Beasley and either Prince or Beverley for Fournier and Burks. And then what are we sending Minnesota? We're sending them. I don't know. They doing that for a second round pick? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like that's the thing. If Beasley's playing nicely and Fournier has been fine.
Beasley's a good offensive player.
He is. But then you have to add pick comp most likely or some sort of asset to getting him. And it's like, is Malik Beasley the type of player you want to get? How does that impact Cam Reddish? We're already I know you're dealing Fournier out, but does that mean you're putting Burks in? Are you putting Quickly up? Are you putting Grimes as a starter? A lot of directions, but I just feel like it doesn't really solve anything.
I think as much as I bring it up as a possibility, I don't think I'm on the Beasley bandwagon. Okay. Pastor Claudio's Obi Hive.
Hey,
what's a Godfather offer you would consider for RJ? I mean,
thanks, Dad.
What's a Godfather offer I would consider for RJ? I just can't fathom a trade that makes sense for them to like a realistic trade.
Oh.
Like John Morant there, I don't know.
Right.
I just don't know why, like SGA, would you trade SGA for RJ? Like, I don't want to light like this chat on fire, but like, I don't even know. It's not going to happen. So
it'd have to be a young player who is similar in talent. And I don't really know who that, like you could say, maybe it would be Halliburton, but at this point, that ship has sailed in my opinion. I would just rather stick with RJ Barrett.
I would not trade RJ Barrett for Tyrese Halliburton. And I think the odds are that Halliburton will be maybe a better player, but I still think RJ's ceiling is higher. And hey, we just talked about Tyrese Halliburton wanting to be in Sacramento and rescue the fucking Kings. Guess who wants to be in New York and rescue this shitty franchise? RJ Barrett. That has meaning to me. So don't trade RJ Barrett. And I know I've been hard on RJ, but don't trade RJ Barrett. Steven Speccarelli, at this point of the season, do the Knicks just go for broke and trade for a Marcus Smart to provide a spark? Is a Tibbs type, and with the Knicks, and with the Knicks where they are may be worth the price of admission. Only took me 5 times to get that out. Like Marcus Smart and how many firsts for Julius Randle? Like that's the only. And they're not going to do that.
Celtics aren't going to say yes to that.
Yes, exactly. They're not going to say yes to that. So I don't see it. I don't see a Marcus Smart trade for where this team is at right now. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't see it.
Jeremy, to your point about the last time the Knicks and Pacers made a deal, when's the last time the Knicks and Celtics made a deal?
Oh man, I'd have to go to Basketball Reference for that one.
But it's like not in recent memory. Those two teams don't make deals. It's like the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, like the Nets and the Celtics make deals. The Sixers and the Celtics make deals. It feels like the Knicks just don't.
Hold on, didn't we trade Marbury to the Celtics?
No, he was a buyout.
Yeah.
Oh, then he went to the Celtics.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
The Knicks don't really trade. I mean, I feel like the last time they traded with Toronto was probably he who shall not be named.
Yeah. What are you doing? What is
the Nets,
he doing?
It was like 1983, 84 Celtics. I can't even remember when.
What else we got here? Okay. Shaq Gun, I think, is the next one up. No, hold on. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna try to get through these last super chats pretty quick. Phil C, you're Leon Rose at year 3 of Tibbs. You know he doesn't play rookies. I'm sorry, I have to push back. He does play rookies.
He does.
He types of rookies that he wants to play. Played Emmanuel quickly last year. He played Quentin Grimes 40 minutes a night if he could. And here's a prediction: we're going to see Quentin Grimes play 40 minutes in at least one game before the end of this year. He doesn't play rookies who have tendencies that irk him, and he is inflexible on that.
We already saw Quentin Grimes play like 40 minutes in a game.
Did he? Oh yeah, he may have.
He played Obi 45 minutes when Julius was out. What are we talking about?
Yeah, but that was more because they didn't have everybody else.
Yeah.
But the point of like not playing rookies, you're right. John is right.
He wants. Yeah. You have 8 picks coming up by 2024. How are you directing the team to compete? Vets or for Tibbs or coaching change? They're going to continue to try what they've been doing, which is have their cake and eat it too. Develop and win. Didn't work out this year. They're going to keep trying it, which is why we keep talking. I keep thinking they're going to try to get a youngish player who is kind of on the timeline, but can also contribute to winning now. They are not going to make 8 picks before 2024. They're not going to make, I don't want to say it. They're not making 8 picks in the next couple of years. Let's just say that. That wouldn't even be possible. If they were, I don't care what organization they were, that no organization is going to do that. That's what you have to keep churning, and they didn't get those picks to make them. We know that. Matt Smith, John, we know you don't like to spill a lot of the rumors you're hearing, but that being said, you've got have a little something for us. I'll be honest with you guys. I maybe I'm a bad insider, and I've been kicking the tires. Trust me, I have. The only, I did say it actually. I wrote it in the newsletter today. I think that Randle to Sacramento was like a real thing that was a possibility, and then Sabonis became possible, and they wanted Domantas Sabonis. At where those talks were and how far they got and who else was involved and this and the other, I can't speak to any of that. I can say with pretty clear conviction, Kings were into the idea of Julius Randle, and they like this deal better.
Jeremy, you're gonna kick yourself. You know when the Knicks' last deal with the Celtics was?
No, I don't.
Evan Fournier.
Oh, of course. Sign and trade.
That's great.
I guess because he was a free agent signing.
Yeah,
I put.
That's a little different, by the way.
When was the last trade before
in-season trade? Yeah. That wasn't a sign-in trade. Where that's more like a technicality than anything else.
Yeah,
it's like saying the Cavs traded LeBron to the Heat. You know.
Right. Exactly.
Favorite comment.
Point taken.
Sorry. My favorite comment of the night, Shaq Gun. Why trade Julius? RJ Obi quickly really did not take the leap I expected. We have talent. Keep building. Relax. Success isn't a straight line. I love every part of that about success isn't a straight line. And I think it's going to be really tough to preach that after tomorrow, because I don't think tomorrow is going to go the way a lot of people want it to go. The only pushback I would give as far as like
going down,
why trade Julius? I think there's a world where trading Julius and the right type of trade does make sense for this team. Another one from Pastor Claudio's Obi Hive. Any other team have 2 ball dominant lefties? Ball dominant lefties. I have no idea. I don't pay attention to the righty lefty stuff.
But I will say, as someone who also does want Jalen Brunson, that would be 3 lefties, which would be, that's a lot of lefties to have.
Are you a lefty?
No, I'm not. I'm a righty.
Andrew, are you a lefty?
Nope. Pastor Claudio is though.
Oh, nice.
I looked it up, by the way. The trade before the last one with Fournier, with the Celtics, it was February 18th, 2010. The Celtics traded J.R. Giddens, Eddie House, Henry Walker, and a 2014 second-round pick for Marcus Landry and Nate Robinson.
There you go. Somebody actually said in the chat, Nate Robinson. Okay, I think this is our last super chat from Jessica. Thank you again, Jessica. Really appreciate it. A question for each of us. What trade do you want to see between now and tomorrow that's also realistic talent-wise and financially for this team? Okay, this is a good way to finish it off. What is one trade we each want to see by tomorrow? I don't know that I want to go first, but I can, if nobody else has something on the top of their head, I will give something. I will give a trade that I want to see.
Sure. I guess again, like I think trading for Goran Dragic, getting 2 of those deals out, whether it's Burks and Noel because they need a big man and they need bench help, like that to me makes a lot of sense. I don't even think you really need to do a lot in terms of pick comp. Like there's talk of how the Raptors are trying to give away the Dragic contract. Like you could just make a measly second round pick for the sake of it all. Like, is that giving a lot away? If you really like Alec Burks, you don't want to just give him away. Sure. But you're also attaching Nerlens Noel's contract to that. The money comes out, you walk away with $20 million or so in cap space. If you want to trade up in the draft, you can do that. Right. And then maybe it's like, you shave off $5 million if you moved up. Okay, well, you're at 15. You can still do a sign and trade involving Kemba Walker, who you probably sat, or something like that. Like, there are ways to maneuver it, but that to me is the easiest way to create cap space if that's what you want. And it kind of seems like, barring anything crazy, that is the direction the Knicks now might be going. But again, I've spin zoned myself between back and forth opportunities that I don't even know what the hell they're going to do.
I'll have some more fun with this one. The trade that talk about things that are not going to happen, but like in theory, it would make sense potentially on paper, maybe, is Julius Randle to the Bulls for Patrick Williams and Derrick Jones Jr. I mean, I should, like, God, what I wouldn't give to get. I'm a big Patrick Williams fan, so that would be great. The notion of, and then I'll do 3 more. The notion of trading Mitch, I don't want people to hate me for this, but I'm just going to say it. The notion of trading Mitch to Dallas for Brunson, if you have to give up to Dallas first, just to get your guy, but then to go do a trade for another center like a Mo Bamba, like if we came at the trade deadline with Mo Bamba and Jalen Brunson, or it doesn't even have to be Bamba, like, but again, then you wouldn't get Brunson, because I think you need Mitch to get Brunson. So, but I was going to say, like, the Pistons, like if they're making a Mitch trade, like something like Mitch to Detroit for Isaiah Stewart and something. I don't know what the something would be, because Detroit's not like giving up one of their own first round picks, and like they don't have any. They don't have a lot of other assets. Like, I don't know. Are they giving up on Killian Hayes right now? Do I want Killian Hayes? Like, I don't know. Like, but so I don't think a Detroit trade makes sense. I think the one that makes the most sense is the Dallas trade, and like Mitch and their first for Brunson feels a little hefty, but.
Especially if you're going the route I was talking about, where it's like, if you're clearing cap space,
I know,
you then wouldn't. But these are two different situations.
I know.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah,
I will say I really like this example. Conrad of Knicks Illustrated, he had the idea of, like, if you're trading Mitch, getting him to a place like Detroit, and then Detroit sending someone like Sadiq Bey to Dallas, and then Dallas sending Jalen Brunson to the Knicks, like something where that is the framework. I thought that was a really nice
the guy
idea
that
satisfies a lot of their plans.
The guy they should have taken instead of Josh Green last year. That's funny.
Yeah. It's then like, how do you get that center? How do you replace Mitch?
Yeah. Andrew, for you, and then we do have one more super chat comment. And we'll
I got nothing as far as fake trades. It just hasn't been in my brain space. I'm just very blown away by your Randle trade proposal after the last week we've spent, that we need to rebuild his value. And all of a sudden, now I also haven't seen Patrick Williams enough to be as high on him as you are. If that's the play you're making, like, if that's the play you're making, then like, that's your prerogative. So that would make Patrick Williams our new 4.
He profiles as a 3. He is like, I love how who was it? I think Berman was like, the Knicks need a 3-4 like Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes is a 3-4. Harrison Barnes is a 4. Patrick Williams is a true 3-4. In the sense that,
could he play next to Obi?
If the shot comes around, and I believe in the shot, yeah, of course you. I mean, you want to put I don't forget Obi. I don't mean to forget.
That's
Obi.
The point, though, is that if I'm trading Randle, it's to open a spot for Obi, not for Patrick Williams.
It's just to get talent in the door. Like
if you have Patrick
I'd rather
Williams,
do it to get a point guard. Is my point.
That's part of it.
This kid's gonna be special.
Jeremy, you high on Patrick Williams too?
I like him. I think it's a real shame that he is out for the year, which, again, not Mitchell Robinson's fault, as they might have said. But I will say Patrick Williams, to me, is kind of like in the archetype of the idea of trading for Jeremy Grant. It's not trading Jeremy Grant. Obviously, all these players are different. They're like snowflakes. Each one is different, but it's that sort of thing like, well, why would the Knicks want a 3-4? Okay. Well, like that is the mindset of like, you could play Patrick Williams at either position, get some more versatility in there if you wanted to. You then have to kind of figure out next year, because Williams is out for the year, how you change everything up.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
All right. Last one from Cassius Clay. The Kings trade in mind. OKC has 2 point guards on the roster and 3 firsts in the draft coming up. SGA potential trade. I wish that would be lovely. They're going to get a high pick again. I'm sure they're going to dangle SGA again for the first pick in the draft, or the second pick if they like whoever's at the 2. And I believe there was a report out last year that was then refuted, and then it was like the refusion was refuted, whatever, that they dangled SGA for Cade, and Detroit didn't go for that. I don't know if Chet Holmgren is the prospect Cade Cunningham is, or Jabari Smith, whoever OKC would have their eyes set on, but like you could see them going after a unicorn type, like and that's what Chet Holmgren is. If he hits, that's what he's going to be. He's going to be a unicorn, like a real unicorn.
Well, there's also another unicorn in next year's draft, which is the French big Victor.
Yes.
Wembanyama.
Yes. Anyway, yes. I'm sorry. So the Knicks are not going to be trading for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the next 21 hours.
Someone in the chat, Trizzy H, said that he agrees with you that I'm doing the Pat Williams trade, and he says Pat Will is a problem. So again, we didn't get to see it at all, because in the few games he played this year, he had like one of the lowest usage rates in the league because he's playing alongside DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and Nick Vucevic. Maybe it's just because I had his college coach on here, and I trust Coach Young, but I think he's going to be really good. Anyway, they're not going to get Patrick Williams, unfortunately. Have my sights set on the Mo Bambas of the world. Anything else before we sign off, boys? Leo GM in the super chat. Love to see your beautiful mugs this eve. Big fan. Thank you, Leo GM. And thank you to the over 800 people that are still here, last I checked. And then to all of you that have tuned in throughout the night. This has been therapeutic, I hope, for all of you, and especially the 2 gentlemen right here on screen with me. I need to give a quick shout out to Hard Knicks Barry, because that compilation and breakdown of the season of John's opening to his post games was amazing. And if you guys watching now enjoyed that clip, first of all, if you don't know what clip I'm talking about, go to the Knicks Film School, YouTube channel, to our videos. We have it as a separate clip that I uploaded this afternoon. Also, do us a favor and go subscribe to their new YouTube channel for their podcast.
Yes,
It's a Hard Knicks Life. It is in the link to the description of the video that I just referenced. As John and Jeremy are wrapping up, I will pin it in our chat as well. Again, It's a Hard Knicks Life. That is their YouTube channel. They're friends of ours, so I think you'll like them.
Thank you, Barry, for making that compilation. Jeremy, anything before we go?
Everyone take a deep breath. There's a lot that's going to happen. I think if one trade happens, it could hang on other trades happening. The sort of thing where I'm glad we will be here from 2 to 4, because we got the first hour to just deal with the chaos, and the second to then take everything in and look at it more from a holistic perspective. But the one thing I'll say is, as the entire app that was known as Twitter seemed to burn to the ground for Knicks fans because the Knicks did not get Tyrese Halliburton, there's something called main character syndrome, where you feel like everything revolves around your world. How does this impact my favorite team? Yeah. And I say this with love and with respect. Not everything is about the Knicks. And I think that's something that we have to keep in mind tomorrow.
You're wrong, Jeremy.
Why is it the Knicks didn't make this, like today, right? Why is the Knicks didn't get involved in the Joe Ingles trade? Well, two of the teams wanted to get expiring salary, and the other wanted to cut salary for the future so they could save money on taxes. Like, you have to, it takes 2 to tango. Sometimes it maybe in this case takes 3 or 4, but just take it easy. Keep in mind, we're all anxious. We'll get out of this fine. The long term is going to be all right. But let's hope the short term is better than what we have seen on the court.
I'll just say that all the guys, everybody out there, all the guys that you're like, why can't they trade this guy? I want them to fucking trade this guy. Ask yourself what's motivating you to say that and think that. And then when you are actively wondering why they're still here, well, you might have your answer.
Literally my most frustrating activity in my like friend group chat is like, we need to trade Evan Fournier. I can't watch him anymore. And it's like, okay, so you can't watch him anymore, but you want another team to give you an asset to watch him going forward. Yeah, we've complained about literally everybody this season,
but as a
result, other teams have eyes too.
But then when you bring up the idea of trading Mitchell Robinson, it's like how dare you? We'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. I still trust the front office. I know there's been a lot of skepticism the last few days, but I trust them. We'll see what happens. All right. On that note.
Eddie F in the chat. Tibbs wants 5 Alec Burks. I can't.
He does actually want that. All right. We'll see everybody later. Peace out.